Today is going to be the last night that I take psychotropic medications. I have my 1/8 amount of trazodone and my 1/8 amount of lithium, and I was originally taking 600 milligrams, so I broke a 150 in half, which is 75 milligrams, which is 1/8 of 600 milligrams. And I've been taking this for 4 days, this dosage, and this will be the 5th night, and tomorrow night I won't take any. I spoke with Hardy Nutritionals today, and they said that I can continue to take the Benadryl for maybe a week or so, but I will talk with them about that later. So I'm kind of glad about that, because it'll be nice to have some assistance sleeping, even if it's not psychotropic in any way. So I'll be off the psychotropics, but I won't be off the meds completely yet. And that's good, because a friend is coming tonight and I want to be able to sleep these next 3 nights while she's here visiting. And I asked them about doing a ketogenic diet in a few weeks, and they said it's best not to do anything too jarring to the system, anything that will be way too detoxing, because it could be jarring, and the system should just keep going at the natural pace it's going, of eliminating whatever drug residues remain. And that made sense to me. I initially thought it might be cool to do a ketogenic diet before I go home and get it in a little bit better shape, because it would probably make me lose about 5 or 10 pounds. Not that I really feel like I need to lose weight, but I know that I've gained a few pounds since I got here. So I just thought going home in good shape would be cool. Plus, right now I'm just focusing on tapering off the meds. I'm not really doing anything extra. So when I don't have to focus on that, I thought I could focus on changing my diet. They said I could eat a little healthier, which makes sense, but just don't do anything too jarring. And switching my whole metabolism to burning fat for fuel might be a little intense right now. So that's kind of cool. I can put my efforts elsewhere. And they said continue to take the vitamin C. I've been taking it at breakfast and at lunch, 15 minutes before. And they said maybe try doing it breakfast and dinner. I thought the vitamin C would be stimulating, but they said it's not. It actually helps you sleep. So now that I won't be taking meds at night, I could even take it lunch and bedtime, or morning and dinner, whatever I want. And they said I could play around with that, or I could take it just once a day, and if I feel some kind of withdrawal symptoms, take it. And they said I could take up to 3 a day, but it might be good for the next week to take 2 a day consistently. So that's the story on the lipospheric vitamin C. I ordered another box from Amazon, and it was $60 American. So the supplements right now, if I was taking 2 a day of those, and it's a box of 60, that would take 2 boxes, so that's $120 US a month for vitamin C. But they said I only need that for about 2 months. And the Hardy Nutritionals, the price varies, but I would say with the Hardy Nutritionals and the amino acids, it's about like 120 to 150. So say $300 a month-ish on supplements right now. And that would probably continue at 150-ish when I don't have to take so much of the vitamin C at some point. But say it averages out to about $200 to $250 a month, depending on what I'm doing exactly. And it could be quite a bit less. It could be 150 to 250. I actually did a calculation of paying that amount of money for the next So I actually did a calculation, and if I continue to take this stuff for, say, the next 50 years, and it would be 50 years because starting tomorrow I will officially participating in the mental health system. So right now I'm 35. So it seems like a fun age to die when in the mental health system is around 60 years old. Look at Carrie Fisher, and I'm sure there's other examples. So she's missing 25 years of her life, which would put her up to 85, which females can live to quite comfortably nowadays. So she lost her 25 years. And so that's 25 years more of life. I did some calculations, and it'll be 25 years until I turn 60. And if I want to live till 85, then that's 25 more years. So that is 50 years. So the cost of this for 50 years times 12 months times $150 per month is about $90,000. So $90,000 to live another 50 years as opposed to 25 years. I think that's a pretty good deal, especially when it's broken down into monthly payments of just $150. And I don't know if this is true because I can't necessarily predict the future, but I've possibly changed the trajectory of my life. And it's not over. I still have to take my dose tonight and then live a night and a day without taking any medications. And I mentioned before that I did taper off before, and 3 weeks after being off everything, I was back in the hospital. So I'm not oblivious to that possibility. And the amino acids, I have perhaps given myself a better chance. I know for sure that I feel a lot better. I had some definite PMS yesterday, so I just spent some time in a very beautiful environment and just sat there and relaxed. And it was interesting. I really surrendered into just being still and being silent. And I was outside and sitting somewhere quiet. And then I came back and I was laying in bed. And I was really just planning on just laying there still and just being with this sort of weird energy in my eyes and things that I was attributing more to PMS than anything else. And then all of a sudden I just popped out of bed and I started doing all this work on my computer and organizing some of the videos that I've made and things like that. And it seems like my brain has started to look at some of these videos and put them in order. I have them in different playlists according to month for so those are all in order now up until May 31st. And I'm going to go back through all the videos and remove all the enhancements that made it look all warpy, that I didn't really know what I was doing with that, and that'll take some time. And some of the videos have a bunch of ads and some of them have none, and I think I'm just going to put one at the beginning of some of them, or maybe some of them none, and then some of them one at the beginning after a while. So if people watch it in order, they'll sort of think, well, yeah, it's worth watching an ad for, and perhaps not having any. I don't know. I kind of want to see how the ad thing works and how it kind of works in general, so I'll probably just try it, not with the intention to really keep it. I'm hoping that it sparks more meaningful things than just a few cents from ads. Like people actually feel called to reach out and to form new contexts and have new conversations and I don't know, like I really don't know. So putting a few things in place and seeing what happens. I think more of what happens is about the dialogue and not about money. Like I don't care about that. It's just more of an experiment. And also putting in some tags so people can find SoundCloud, and then some keep unlisted on YouTube and then just post them on my blog to keep them at first just within a narrow population of people who understand this conversation. so it doesn't get listened to by the wrong ears that will just obviously misinterpret it. So it would be great for us to talk amongst ourselves first. And so my brain is just kind of taking time and doing little bits of this at a time, and seeing, now that it's coming up to a year of talking to myself, it's actually moving into being able to do something with the conversations. Whereas a couple of months ago I was just like blah and just talking to myself, that because that's the main thing I could do. And it's also at the same time as coming off meds, feeling more clear, and also feeling like the purpose of the dialogue was fulfilled, even though I don't know when I set that up as a hope of being able to talk to myself and talk myself out of the system, or even do this for a year. So I might actually start listening to some of my videos. I really did start making videos on June 7th, actually. I made a bunch without any editing, just talking after the naturopath. And it's kind of funny because it's not edited, so I'm going like mash and like this and wiping my face, and I think I was more fidgety then. Even now, editing things, there's not that much to get rid of. It's more actually making mistakes in what I'm saying, and I think it's actually because it's unscripted. If I had something that I was following to say, I don't think I would make as many mistakes if I sort of like practiced before and then practiced that chunk and then got that chunk perfect. But the reason I can't do that is because whatever I say, it came out of nowhere, and I can't stop and start again because that will actually change what I was going to say. So I just start from where I left off and then cut out the mistake, and that's why there's breaks mid-sentence, because I can't plan what I'm going to say, so I can't say, oh, I said what I was planning to say wrong, so I'm just going to say it again. It doesn't work that way. So it's interesting with that, especially when I'm doing extrapolations, because it's really coming from somewhere else than some kind of story, and it's something new, so that newness actually makes mistakes in what it's trying to say, because it's not something it's preformed and made a formula of to try to sound smart. It's actually, it's like baby steps again. It's like learning how to speak from this other place. So sometimes there are mistakes, so I cut those out. But I didn't edit those videos, so they're kind of funny, so I don't know if I will put them with the full playlist. Though if I release them as audios first, which I'm planning to do, it won't really matter. And I actually have 4 videos from June 7th and 5 videos from June 8th that aren't on my big playlist of 186 videos right now. This will be the 286 videos actually, and this will be the 287th. So if you include those 9, that's 296. So if I do the June 7th mark, I have a few days, I have 5 days to make 3 videos. But if I do the June 20th mark, I have 18 days to make 13 videos, something like that. Doesn't really matter, but it would be cool to make the 300 by June 7th and then kind of the 300 again by June 20th. And it would be extra cool to make 365 by September 11th. And I'll have a friend here, so I won't be able to talk as much, but I will definitely make a video, especially Sunday, being my first day after a night of not taking psychotropic drugs. I did put some of the audios that I made of this book that I was kind of writing 2 years ago. It wasn't a book, it was just sort of notes when I was researching psychosis more and coming off my meds, and so I made quite a bit of notes, and I was thinking of turning it into a book, but I have trouble with editing, in terms of trying to make it into some kind of format. That's why I really like this format of just talking to myself, editing out the mistakes, but not the content, and being done with it. Though I think I might start watching some of the old videos kind of on the anniversary date or around then, and then that way I can add in some search keywords and maybe kind of figure out what I was talking about. The one thing I am concerned about, it's not really a concern, is I'm very sensitive, so watching myself a year ago might actually put me back into a state of a year ago a little bit. Not really, but I don't know, just hearing those things. So I really am not sure if I want to do that. We'll see. Another thing I could do is ask people who watch the videos to send me keywords, because that way I don't have to watch them again, and I can just figure it out that way. Because it would be kind of cool to not spend too much time on this process moving forward, like make short videos here and there, but not really go into extrapolation. And watching videos takes time, and then I might have a tendency to want to extrapolate them or make some notes on them to maybe put something together that's comprehensible, or make notes on what clips to include in something smaller, like make a smaller thing, maybe like a 2-hour summary something of old clips. That would require a faster and more powerful computer for sure. So yeah, I'm not really sure where it will go, but at the same time I see that I have put a lot of energy into this, so even if I go for another year on this process but in a different way, it could be good because I've put a lot of energy into this conversation. So where does it want to go next, and how does it want to go there, and I'm not really sure. And it sounds like I will be leaving California on June 24th. It's a Monday. And on June 25th, and I will likely take the train because I find it less stressful. And so I will be back at home on the 25th, and the 26th will actually be my first day there. And hopefully that day I will get to see my friends and my community, and that feeling of really wanting to leave isn't there. It was a little bit yesterday, but it's not really as strong. So I feel like I can keep going for the next 6 or 7 weeks. And I'm not sure what'll happen. It'll be a different context to not be taking any meds and have 6 or 7 weeks off the meds before I go back home, which is an environment where I'll be somewhat expected to go participate with the system again, or like make an appointment necessary. And will I continue to wonder about extreme states when I no longer feel like I'll go into extreme states? Or if I do, I won't necessarily medicate them. And that's kind of the risk in the next while, is if something does happen, I won't want to medicate the extreme state because I just finished tapering off that crap. So I wonder what there will be to talk about with myself. Will there be anything to talk about? Maybe it'll be more about sharing in order to create context, but not necessarily about creating more context. Or maybe there'll be some other context to create, a context of what does a brain wonder about and think about and see and go into when not needing to always refer subtly or in a manifest or gross way to something related to mental health. It's one thing to have experiences and think they have something to do with mental illness, and it's another to have experience and think it's not something to do with a mental illness but still be medicated like it is. And then it's another to maybe be off meds and not having those experiences because there's a chance that some of my supposed relapses could actually be caused from taking those medications for too long and the toxicity associated with that. And that's what can happen is, oh, you need a med change, when it could be the toxicity accumulating and then those meds no longer work and you just have to switch to a different poisoning mechanism in order to be okay for a while till the next change. And I don't know. I'm just wondering, what does a brain see and wonder about when no longer having to refer to that paradigm because one isn't taking the medications and participating in it, even if one does not subscribe to it. So what will the brain see when it's no longer coerced back into that paradigm? It's warped and coerced into something that is just this awful outlook and all this wonderful language. Where is the stigma when one has transcended? And I could be getting way ahead of myself by saying these things, but at the same time, I'm sure I've been saying things that were way ahead of what I was doing all along the way. Just talking about not wanting to take meds all along the way, and then all of a sudden being off meds. At this point, I'm wondering what it will be like to be off of them. And maybe I'll know after a month or two of being off of them what that actually looks like and feels like, or like how does one speak? How does one see when not having to see through all of these experiences that one has had because one was put into the mental health paradigm? Do those experiences slowly fade away in memory because they no longer serve any purpose? And in 2 months I could be back on these meds and singing a sad song, but I could also be feeling very free. So I'm just wondering, and maybe now that I'm at this point where tonight will be the last night of taking meds for however long, my brain is just giving voice to wondering about what that's going to be like again. Because in the last 6 years, I've probably only had 15 medication-free days. And I did have maybe a month or so on a very, very low dose of lithium. So maximum a month or two of no meds to very little. What will be the eye structure when it's not with this whole chemical band-aid? Will there be more things that I have to deal with? Will there be more things that I have to look at? And I am having a sense that that's true. And I think that's partly why it's important to get this conversation I've had with myself in order, so I don't lose sight of and not getting too detached from this whole conversation and almost transcending it to a point where I forget about it and forget that it did seem to have some value at some point. So the altruism is important. And I think I talked a lot more of those elements So it might be good to actually remind myself why I even started talking to myself in the first place. Because my brain has a tendency to forget. And that could have been part of why I actually recorded what I was saying to myself, so I could go back and look at it. Even if no one else ever sees it, if I'm able to go back and look at it and remember, why the heck am I here? What the heck am I doing? I don't even know. I came to California for a reprieve, and I didn't know I would end up healing. And will I be afraid to speak up about it? For some reason, I always think that I don't know anything, so who am I to say anything? And I've said all these things to myself. And I've framed it in a way of talking to myself because I'm not telling anyone what to do, say, think. I'm just talking to myself. And I'm allowed to do that. But I don't know if I can do anything more beyond that because I really don't know. And it would be great to be in a space of not knowing with other people. Just really coming together and saying, I really don't know anything. And I feel that people like me can actually say that because we've had such mind-expanding experiences that show us that we really don't know how this world works and how the brain works and what's going on, and maybe in dialogue with each other we can actually find a new meaningful context through which to move through life. Krishnamurti talks about a totally different way of living, and I think we get in contact with that in map consciousness, but we don't quite figure it out, or we don't have enough people around us who are also trying to figure this out in order to make it something of a ground to stand on. So yeah, I hope I have a fun weekend with my friend and enjoy the first few days of freedom from psychoactive chemicals, and then my friend has a good time and goes home happy, and I continue to work on this and talk to myself here and there, and who knows what's going to happen next.